Hello everyone and welcome to Mountain Lake Journal. I'm Tom Hellick. We're at Trinity Park in Plattsburgh, which, being in the heart of the downtown, is often where groups will gather for demonstrations and rallies.
We are a new organization. Our mission is to create a safe space and environment for LGBTQ youth, young adults, and so our goal is to actually at some point create a Pride Center here in the Adirondack North Country.
The gathering in the park earlier this month was in support of the LGBTQ community and what's believed to be the first Pride March through downtown Plattsburgh. With a national conversation and focus in recent months on civil rights for transgender people, many activists say in the North Country, there's still a long ways to go.
My vision is to be able to connect the whole transgender community across New York State. So what we're looking to do is be able to connect and work together.
Earlier this summer, family members, health professionals, and activists, including Julie Gray Owens, who led the discussion, gathered for a town hall meeting in Plattsburgh to talk about the needs and issues facing the North Country's transgender and gender nonconforming communities. Transgender refers to people whose gender identity differs from their sex at birth, while gender nonconforming are people who don't follow stereotypes about how they should look or act based on their gender. Some of those who attended the meeting talked about challenges transgender youth face, especially at school.
I have run into stuff with some teachers not wanting to use preferred names of students.
Other kids and teens face constant bullying and a higher risk of suicide.
We want to get into the schools.
Kelly Metzger is an advocate who recently established a transgender youth group based in Plattsburgh and hopes to form a support group for parents as well. And Kelly Metzger is a transgender and LGBTQ rights advocate who lives in Saranac Lake. Welcome, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So this was the first ever Pride Parade in Plattsburgh.
As far as we know, we are not aware of any other Pride Parade in the Adirondack North Country or in the city of Plattsburgh.
For many years, the LGBTQ community has traveled across the lake to Burlington for the Burlington Pride Festival.
Yes. And I think that's where the idea was born, was we should have a Pride Parade. I thought this was certainly the right time to put a parade together and celebrate LGBTQ diversity here in the North Country, and everything just sort of really gelled over the summer, and we were able to do it.
At the same time you held the first parade, you're also forming a new group, a new alliance in the greater Plattsburgh area in the Tri-Lakes region. What do you hope it's going to do?
The Adirondack North Country Gender Alliance. As I've gone around the state, and I do travel, and so if we take a line from Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Albany, Oneonta, Binghamton, down into the city, there are LGBTQ centers in all of our major cities. But look at that line that I just drew. And so there are no community-based LGBTQ centers in the North Country. My thought, my idea, my goal is to actually create an organization that brings all members of the LGBTQ community together, along with community resources and community leaders, so we can actually have something for the community.
So a Pride Center.
A Pride Center, that is my goal, long term. We have to have something here in the North Country to provide those services and those resources, because the people are here, and we have to tell people it's okay to come out. It's okay to be yourself. This is a safe and welcoming place. And at least in a Pride Center, that would be the goal.
Right now, are there just no resources available here for the LGBTQ community?
If you are lesbian, gay, or bi, you already identify in your gender identity. So for a gay man or a lesbian woman, they would get their healthcare needs done by their normal, regular doctor. Here in the transgender community, we are actually changing our genders. So there were no healthcare providers here at all in the North Country. And so as I was looking for medical services or a doctor who could take on my particular needs, no doctor here would even take me on. We don't treat people like you. We don't treat transgendered people. One doctor, their staff actually told me that. Well, you know, you can try Burlington. Have you looked in Watertown? Have you tried Albany? Surely there's someone in Albany. We can't drive 3.5, 4 hours, depending on where you live in the North Country, for those services. So I worked with Adirondack Health and spoke with Chandler Ralph. And so she was very concerned and very compassionate. And so she found a doctor for us who would take on our healthcare needs. So because of that, we now have a doctor who will do basic transgendered hormonal health care. And she has been a wonderful doctor, and she's been doing this for the last 2 years.
You work as a transgender rights advocate,
Yes.
speaking at events and
Yes.
public gatherings, actually across the country, but also here in the region, to raise awareness about transgender issues. Here in the North Country, are you hearing from transgender people, from the parents of transgender children and teenagers, from teachers, school administrators? Are you hearing from them about transgender issues?
Yes, and a lot of teachers are not certain as to how to deal with the trans issue. School districts around the region are looking for guidance. In July of 2015, the New York State Department of Education actually issued guidelines on transgender and gender nonconforming students in the schools. So there's a lot of education that needs to be done for the administration, for the teachers themselves. So this is all fairly new. And so what I hear all the time is, this is so needed. And so we do have support groups for youth and young adult. And when we have parents bring their child to the support groups, they are just so thankful that we're there to help.
So when you talk to parents and teachers and administrators, educators, what are they telling you?
They have a lot of questions. What is transgendered? How do we understand this? We explain what gender is and what gender isn't. That gender is not sex. Gender is in our minds. It's how we see ourselves. We explain that there is nothing wrong with the person, the child, whatever. This is how we were created from birth, and that's what we need people to understand, that there's nothing wrong with us. We're not looking to get fixed. We're not looking for reparative therapy. And basically to love your child and take them for who they say they are.
And is this something that really school districts and workplaces and communities are just beginning to look at?
Yes. I think even though the transgender community has been here for decades and probably centuries, this is really the first decade where it's safe to come out. I think we see an explosion of trans issues in this decade that we've never seen before. And so these are all new challenges in religious communities, in the workplace, in the schools, in our homes. We are, as a community, not hiding anymore. We are affirming our sense of self, and we are demanding our place in society and our equal rights on par with everyone else.
How many school districts here in the North Country have a student who is transgender?
I would say probably every school district. Sometimes the student may not be out, but when you look at the general population numbers, that we are somewhere between 0.3 and 0.5% of the population, I would say every school district in the North Country probably has at least one student, if not more.
Do you think that would surprise people to hear that? Do you think they're aware of that?
No, because a lot of transgender people are afraid to come out. And as a parent, you are not going to broadcast that fact about your child.
Is part of the reason they may not reveal it, you mentioned, is bullying a real problem?
Yes. I think there's bullying and harassment in schools to begin with. And so throwing being lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender on top of that, it just adds to, one more thing that a student can be bullied or harassed over.
And even worse for transgender students?
Yes. So if you are a boy and you identify as a girl and you want to grow your hair out long, you want to wear a dress or a skirt or something, you are going to be made fun of. You are going to be harassed. You are going to be ridiculed. You are going to be assaulted. You are going to be bullied.
Earlier this summer, you held a town hall meeting.
Yes.
Who attended the forum and what were the concerns that they raised?
This is actually an initiative that is going all through New York State to find out what the needs, what the issues are. How do we address those issues? What do we see as a vision for our New York State community? What services are needed? What education? What are the actual needs? And so the results were not surprising. The results, a need for medical care, for mental health care, for legal assistance, for having your name changed. Something that most people don't think of. The process of actually changing your identity. Mm-hmm. How do we help homeless youth who are thrown out of their homes by their parents because their parents and family can't deal with the fact that they're transgender? And so part of our goal is to take these needs, these issues, to the New York State Legislature. Because here in New York State, we still do not have legislatively rights and protections.
How do you hope that the Gender Alliance and the Pride Center will be able to address those issues?
We hope to be able to create resources for people in the community, and if we can't provide them ourselves, we want to be able to refer out to other supporting organizations. So if we don't have a mental health provider, we would like to be able to see, go see this person at this agency for mental health issues. Go see this doctor for your healthcare needs. Go see this attorney. Ultimately, it would be nice if we could have counselors in-house, if we could provide maybe some very basic medical care. Those are our long-term goals, is to actually be a place where people could come and these services could be provided.
Kelly Metzger, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me.